Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. In today's video, I'll be doing December 2021's completed coloring pages, and if that is of interest to you, please stay tuned. I didn't count, so I don't know how many pages I've completed. I don't know how many books I've completed them in, just some caveats. Now, if you hear some random booms, some people in the neighborhood are still popping big fireworks, and so I have no idea when or if that'll happen. It's been super rainy these last few days, so if you hear that in the background, just be aware. It might actually just give it some ambiance. But otherwise, let's just get stuck in. I'll talk about this PDF right here. This I did with in a collaboration with Sarah, Tiarna, and Jamie. It was our Tinseltown collaboration. This is the second page that I did. I did finish this on December 3rd. I just realized I didn't write down any of the material, so I'll need to do that. But I did do some finishing touches with you guys. I did do a little bit of finishing touches off camera because I just wanted to show you some ideas on what you can do. Oh, and we weren't calling it finishing touches. We were calling it additional touches because whenever you are done with your page, then you can consider it finished, even if other people might. This is a PDF we had purchased from Zoe Sadler's Etsy shop. I'll link that in the description box below. I think I could have done more with it, but pictures get to a certain point for me where I'll call it done, even though I know I could do more because I've got limited time and so many different coloring books that I'd rather just have fun in something else than try to make something look perfect. I think that for me is just a better use of my time. But this is the roasted chestnut page from Zoe Sadler's Tinseltown PDF set, and you can check her out on Etsy. This book should look familiar to you guys if you're following me on my 12 Days of Christmas Cheer that was hosted by Poet. And this is the page that I completed here. I did do some calculation right before the video. And this, if I look at all of the time it took me to prep the page and then all the various boxes that I colored, this took me about 5.5 hours to color. And then if I add in the total project time, which includes editing, and I edit all of my videos, then I would just double the time. And so this, as a project for YouTube, took me nearly 11 hours of time to do. And what is both interesting and a little weird is this page does not look very spectacular. Now, when you start factoring in that all of these different boxes are 12 different brands of pencils, I didn't swatch, I didn't test, we just kind of jumped in, then that makes it a little bit more interesting to me, because if this were a page I could have used, or if this were a page that I wasn't testing pencils on, I could have used a glitter gel pen, white jelly roll pen, maybe some water medium, maybe some distress ink. But because we were just testing out different brands of pencils, how they felt on the paper, this is extraordinarily ordinary until you realize none of these boxes are the same pencil set. At least for me, it does make it interesting. I know towards the latter part of this series, I was using pencils to sort of tie in other spots, but still, even doing that, I can see some places where there just wasn't some good color matching, and yet it still looks like a very cohesive picture. So if you didn't watch that series, you might have wondered why I broke this up, or maybe you thought I did this for the 12 Days of Christmas, but I used all the same pencil set. But yeah, it's a very ordinary picture, but it did take an intense amount of time. And when I include editing and all of that, it took even more time. But I do like to do a page in one of my Opal books every single month, so that did hit that key. And I do know what pencils I like working in here, although my go-tos are usually my Erogitins, but I also know that I did like my Brett Funners and my Rhododendrons so I could use them simultaneously. I only ever generally use one pencil per page. It's because my space is limited and I don't want to have various tools out, especially if I don't finish a page in one sitting. Then that means I have to collect that somewhere, and I use this for multiple projects, include journaling, including when I'm working from home. And so I have to clear everything off every time I do something new. But that was this page. This is Opal's Moments Wholly for Yourself. And that was a 12-day project that I did for Poet Spice's 12 Days of Christmas Cheer. And if you're interested, I will link that playlist below. I did a page in this. I did purchase this in October. It is, I believe, my first completed page in here. I'm not sure, but this was a buddy color with some people here. And so this was a buddy color, I believe, with Pixie, Poet, and Deb from Instagram. I did decide to go in a little different route and make it very whimsical. And so the snow is pink, at least on the trees. I don't know why I didn't make the snow pink on the ground, but I got to a point in this picture where I was just done. I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And you can really tell. So I'm not super happy with the results, but it does look a lot more whimsical than I would generally make a picture. To me, I'm very standard when it comes to things. So snow is this, and this is this, and this is this. And for this one, I tried to step a little out of my box, and I think I was okay with that. But then when I got to all of this here, I'm like, ugh, yeah, I'm kind of over this. But I do like how it looks overall. I think, you know, had I not got bored with it, I could have done this a little better. But I get to points where I'm like, I don't want to spend any more time on a picture. So I'm glad one is done. Like I said, I don't know if I have any other in here that I've completed. This does have a variety of different mediums. There is a lot of alcohol marker on the page, but I did get some new glittery watercolors for Christmas. So over the alcohol markers, I did put some pink glitter watercolor paint. That's what's on the snow here. I've got some glitter gel pen. They were all based in alcohol markers and then added some details with some glitter gel pen. So again, not horrible, but not my favorite either. I do like this book. I like the whimsy of this book. And so I'll definitely have to tackle something that hopefully I will remain in the mood to finish, because guys, I have to tell you, that struggle is real. But this is Gnomes in the Neighborhood, and this is a book by Denise Klett. I did complete a page in here. This is Joanna Basford's Enchanted Forest. This is the UK version. You can tell by the U there. Again, I am not sure how I feel about the paper in this book. It is off-white creamish, and then it is very slick. I did get a gift of colored pencils for my friend Poet. I will actually do a video on that sometime in life because I do have some thoughts on those pencils. And so what I did was I framed this tree out, and then I just used all of the pencil work is the flow wood, and then all of the red is some glitter gel pen, and then I used some distress ink and a stencil here, and then I just chose some colors and just tried to make it look nice that way. I could have chosen more colors, but at the time I didn't have them in a pencil case and they were a bit unwieldy in the box. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to pick 5 different greens and then try to make this look interesting from there. I think it worked. I definitely do have some thoughts about that. So be on the lookout for that video. I don't know if I'll have time to film that today, but I did test those pencils out in a variety of different books. And there is absolutely a book that I love working in it with, and so I'll definitely, you know, talk a little bit more about that. But that's the page I completed here. I also counted this towards Olga Rani's Christmas, but I didn't write that down. But for her monthly theme for her Find in Color, it was Christmas for the month of December, so I did send that to her for that prompt. And that is Joanna Basford's Enchanted Forest. I did have a buddy color with here. This is an ongoing buddy color with poet Erica and Emma. This is Reptiloids by Vasile Psycho. And our prompt for the month, for this month, was using Christmas colors. We could either do traditional or non-traditional. I went the traditional route. And Emma has this book. She's the one that has pretty much influenced all of us, at least that I can tell, here on YouTube to get this book. And so she's got a lot of completed pages done. So instead of us saying we're going to do a specific page, we just choose a color theme, and then that way we can choose whatever page that we want. Now, I choose this one specifically for the Christmas color one because he's smoking a pipe, and that reminds me of Bing Crosby, who is both an actor, singer back in the 40s, 30s, 50s. I don't know. He does the White Christmas. And so I changed it just a little bit so that if you knew who Bing Crosby was, you'd know it was a play on his name. And then I just really leaned into the greens and red for his picture. I used Sharpie Art 101 alcohol markers, Artezas, because I did take this to work to use during lunch because that's the only place I have my Artezas, some Prismas, some Brett Funners, Jelly Roll Metallic, and Jelly Roll White. And I actually really like how he came out. And that's what he looks like on the back side. Oh yeah, I didn't put a blotter, so I'll need to figure something out for that. But that's the page that I did out of Reptiloids by Vasile Psycho. I completed quite a few pages out of here. 2 of them were buddy colors. I think, yeah, this first one I did for one of Olga Rani's prompts, which was bees. This was a very quick color. I did the vase in alcohol marker with some of the flowers, and then the rest I just used glitter gel pen as well as for the bees here. The quote here is, "A woman is fine for her own satisfaction alone. No man will admire her the more. No woman will like her the better for it." And that's from Northanger Abbey. I'm assuming that's a book. I don't know. I'm not really well versed in Jane Austen, but yeah, I really like this picture, and it was a really quick color, as was this one. This is a buddy color that I did with my girl Pixie, and this one I just really leaned into some of the browns and green tones, but greens that were a little bit more browny in nature. I did this with Tombow water-based markers, Amazon Basics, and art glitter gel pens, and some Pentel Touch. And I really like how this came out. I like the size of this book, and I like that it's single-sided. So if I want to use alcohol markers, I can. And then the second page I did with this. I'm not as happy with this one. This is another one of those cases where I put down some colors. I didn't have a plan. I didn't like how the colors looked. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm done. The quote for this one is, "Where people are really attached, poverty itself is wealth." And that is also from Northanger Abbey. And then let me see what the quote was on that other page. And the quote on this page is, "Know your own happiness. Want for nothing but patience. Or give it a more fascinating name, call it hope." And that is from Sense and Sensibility. And Pixie is actually quite a few of these pages done. So I think we're going to continue to color in here, if just to help her finish the book. But with butter colors, I like to get them done usually within a month. This actually was a 2-month buddy color with us, but it's really just a way for us to say, okay, let's focus on a book to work on, whether it gets done today, tomorrow, or next year. It doesn't really matter. It's just more just reaching out to people in the community and just saying, hey, you want to do a page together? And it's more about the camaraderie and just making friendships that way. So whether, you know, people get the page done at the same time as I do, I never want people to feel obligated. In my mind, I know when I want to get certain things done, but that has also been sometimes I can't, and I'll just let people know, hey, I wasn't able to do it. And I've never heard of anyone either that I'm buddy coloring with or that have done buddy colors with other people. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't finish it, right? It's sort of the antithesis of what this is supposed to be like. We're all generally coloring on our own. And so if we can just focus on a book or focus on a page and then just chit chat about that, get to know each other because we've got this thing in common, that's really the point of this. The actual finished completed page is secondary. At least it is to me, and I hope my watercolors know that. Anyway, that is She Said It Best, Jane Austen, illustrated by Kimma Parrish. I did do a page in this. This is a coloring book that I keep at work. This is A Million Unicorns. And the reason I did this page was it was getting towards the end of the month and I still had not done my hashtag for Corey's E is for December. Every month she does do a letter for a corresponding month. So E was for December, F is for January. And the way that she's tackling that hashtag challenge is she uses different brands with the name that starts with the letter of the month. I use different pencil colors, and because it was getting towards the end of the month and I didn't know how much I'd be able to finish, I used this and I used the pencils I had at work. So you don't see a lot of this from me, but I use Artesa's. I usually like doing these pencil pages with 5, but I couldn't find 5 different colors that started with E, and so I was able to find 4: emerald green, eggplant purple, elephant gray, and espresso, and I was able to do this. And this did take me just one lunch break to do, and so it was a fairly quick color. I think the results are good. I did actually rip the page. I had one of these on there and just ripped it like that, and it took some of the page away. So I'll need to remember to use something like this if I am coloring at work, because that's unfortunate. But yeah, I did this for Corey's E is for December. I use those pencils there. I actually do like swatching when I'm doing the coloring for her, just because to me it's easier to remember than it is to write the color names on the side. And this is Lulu Mayo's A Million Unicorns. I will be taking this back to work. This Jasmine Beckett Griffith coloring book, A Fantasy Art Adventure, was a butter color with both Poet and Sarah. They weren't able to finish theirs, but again, that's not the point of this. But this is one of the pictures that I actually wasn't liking about 20% in. So I knew for December I wanted to finish it, less because, you know, I had this overhanging whip on my radar, but more because I didn't like it and I just wanted to get it done. I don't know what it is about it that I didn't like, but there's something about this picture that I'm not a huge fan of. It is done. I think there are elements that look good. You guys know, and you'll actually see this in some other work, I'm going to take the approach with bugs and birds, generally speaking, and just black them out. Not even going to worry about it. I did see her more of a crow than as an angel. I don't actually know what she's supposed to be, but this is some alcohol marker. You can see there. There's tons of glitter gel pen. I did use some of my new watercolor paint. I will do a separate video on that just to show you guys because I just absolutely love them. And so yeah, I think I actually like her and the dragon. It's the background that I'm not a fan of. I might have actually liked it more had I used some sort of medium to white it out or black it out, but then I would have had to change her wing color because the only acrylic paint that I have that actually could do that is black, and then you wouldn't be able to see that. And this is a butter color that I did with Poet and Sarah. I don't know if we're going to do another one for January. I've been really just scaling down on my butter colors. I've been leaning into a lot of my other hobbies these last couple of months, and so I don't want to overwhelm myself, but I also don't want to overwhelm my buddies, and so we will set them up as we feel the desire and the need, but this is the one that I did for Jasmine Beckett Griffith's A Fantasy Art Adventure. I did do a page out of this one. This is Jen Katz's Home Sweet Homes. I did pick this up from Etsy. And this is the page I completed. And I can tell you that I liked it all the way up until I didn't. Now, it's one of those weird ones. In the way that I have my lights, maybe I can do it that way, it flips up. And that is probably the thing I like the least about this book, because it does make it hard to color. But I'm hoping you guys can see this. Now, I was actually good with it all the way through when I decided, well, let me add a little bit of snow, because the snow wasn't earmarked on these trees. But let me put a little bit of snow by way of a white, I think it was a Posca pen that I used, and I absolutely hated it. I thought it was too stark. I don't know what I was thinking, and I was of the opinion of, okay, well, I did these two and they looked okay, and then I did these and like, oh no, I really hate that. So let me just make it look cohesive and do all the rest of them, and hated it even more. And then I did the big Christmas tree. I was just hating it. I'm like, okay, well, that's just too stark. It's too white. And so I went over it with some Tombow water-based markers in different green tones. And so it took some of the white away, but not enough. And I can totally see it. And so this page was actually quite cute before I decided to be super creative. But I also, I wasn't going to rip this out. I wasn't going to pretend it didn't happen, because now I know, all right, this might not be the approach that I need to take. When I see this, you know, in a few months, a few years, I'm going to be remember, I really did not like the process, but I learned something. And so there is some value in that. I do like how the sky came out. You guys know, for backgrounds, I love me a distress ink background because it's just super quick. This actually was for my Coloropoly. It was for 2 of my entries for Coloropoly for December, and that's from Sarah and Darren from Chronic Coloring Down Under. I had animals dressed for Christmas and then travel for Christmas, and so the animals are definitely dressed for Christmas and they look like they're traveling. I didn't get a lot of Christmas pages done, so I had to have this count for both of those. And again, up until I did all of that white nonsense, I actually was liking this page. I like it a little less, but it's still done, and I did learn something, so there has to be some value in that. But that is Home Sweet Homes by Jen Katz, and you can purchase this from Etsy. I will link her shop below. Any of the Etsy shops that I mentioned, I am not affiliated with. They're just shops that I've purchased things from. This is another coloring book that I keep at work, and so I will be taking it back once I'm done. This is Nice Little Interiors by Tatiana Bogema-Stalova, and I actually did this for one of Olga's prompts. It's this page right here, and the prompt for the week was horns. I'm going to give you a few seconds to see if you can find it. Did you find it? Yeah. It's right there. And I actually really liked that aspect. Now, I like this coloring book. And with this coloring book, I like how crisp it looks when I don't do any shading. So there's just some slight shading with alcohol markers, but there is no pencil work in here. Random hair everywhere because I shed like a cat. I did do a little bit of embellishment on the glass here, but otherwise it's just straight alcohol marker work. And I love the effect of that. And I like that this was sort of one of those search and finds, because it definitely counts towards the prompt, but you really have to look for it. But I had done another page, this one here, back in April, and my intention was to do all the basing in alcohol marker and then go back in with some pencils just to make it look more interesting. But I love the crispness of it, that I'm probably going to do a lot of this book in the same way, where you're going to see a lot of white space, you're not going to see a lot of intense shading, and it really is just going to look to me like sort of a manga or a graphic novel might. But that's a page from Nice Little Interiors, and that is by Tatiana Bogema-Stalova. This one is another one that I keep at work, so I will be taking it back. This is Journey to the Secret Library by Adventure Coloring Books. This one actually does not have an artist attached to it. And I chose this for another one of Olga Rani's monthly prompts. It was for horns, and this was a very, very quick and simple coloring. But because there was such a ton of black space, I decided to put a quote, and that is my go-to method for a lot of these things. And the quote that I chose is from Albert Einstein, and it says, "Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better." And I thought it took up the space. I thought it fit in with the kind of picture it was. And then over here, I don't normally do this on the page, but it did take away some of that space. And so to me, it just makes sense. I did use Mondo Llama alcohol markers. Those I have at work, some Sharpies, some Arteza pencils, and some white Jelly Roll. And so that was that picture completed from the Journey to the Secret Library by Adventure Coloring Books. I did do 2 out of this one, Ladies of Leisure 4 by Zan Von Zed. This is one of my favorite coloring artists. And so the first one I did was a buddy color with my girl Deb off of Instagram. And so I decided to do her like this. I knew for Christmas, or for the month of December, I wasn't going to be doing a lot of Christmas pages. I wasn't feeling Christmas this year. Not by way of spending time with family and things like that, but just by way of movies and songs and whatnot. And so you'll see in instances like this where I just tried to use colors to sort of bring that in. She is totally giving me the vibe, just by way of her coloring, of the little Who girl in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. So I've got red and greens for Christmas, and then the blonde of her hair is very inspired by that little Who girl in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. And I really like how she came out. I love the artwork of this artist, and so I don't think you can do a bad picture with them. But that's the one that I did as a butter with Deb. Yeah, I wrote that down there. And then this is one I did for one of Olga Rani's challenges, which was mushroom. And again, you're going to see there is some reds and greens here, so it does pull a little bit of Christmas for me, but not really. And so the prompt for Olga was mushroom, so I was able to incorporate, or that was already on the page, so I was able to use that for that. And because again, I didn't want to do a background, I'm always of the, well then just add either distress ink or a quote and you're good. And this quote is from Atticus, and it says, "That was her magic. She could still see the sunset even on those darkest days." And I think she's really, really pretty. I think all of these women in here are very striking, and not in the gorgeous Hannah Lynn or one of those types. They look a bit stark, and they're certainly not perfect, but I find them so visually interesting. But this is something I did complete in the beginning of December, and this is Zan Von Zed's Ladies of Leisure 4. I know that Deb and I have 2 more butter colors set up for January. I think it's out of here. I need to mark it, and then it's out of the one I'm going to show you in just a bit. But I've been really loving doing my butter colors with Deb because we both seem to have an affinity for this book, this artist, as well as the one I'll be showing you in just a second. And this is the other one that we have been doing a butter color on. This is Surreal Fantasy by Ikuko. And this wasn't a buddy color, but I know we have one set up for January. I did this. This is the other Flowwood page that I did because I wanted to test it on Amazon type of paper. And so this is, I think, yeah, there is no alcohol marker on here. So this is just all Flowwood pencils. I do like the results. I'm not sure that I like the feel of it. But again, there is another book that I do like it better on. I didn't finish it, so you won't see it in this video. And then because, again, there was the white space, I did look for a quote. And this is by Chris Murphy. This says, "From fear of the unknown, both horns and wings have grown." And I thought that was appropriate to the picture. And I do like how this came out, and I really do like the artwork in here. And so it is quite the joy to work in this book. And I also love seeing what Deb comes out with when she does her pictures in this. This is one of those books that are doubled. One is on white paper and one is on black backed paper, but the actual background is still white. And this is probably one of the few books that I have double images that I would actually be interested in coloring twice. But this is Surreal Fantasy by Ikuko. I did finish a page in here. This is the Coloring Heaven Collection Annual 2019, and I finished this. I think this might be one of the first pictures that I completed by this artist, White Stag. I believe they have some coloring books on Amazon. The only artwork I have from this artist are in these specials, and as of right now, that's sufficient for my needs. This was because it was a prompt for Olga for bees, and I think that's actually the prompt that is for the end of the year, so I believe her gallery comes out on the 9th of January. But I liked it because it was simple and straightforward, and my background is done in distress ink. There's a lot of glitter gel pen and alcohol marker on here. And then the quote, again, because of the white space, is, "We must travel in the direction of our fear," and that's John Berryman. And I thought that was an appropriate quote to what's going on in this picture, because they look like they're up to shenanigans, and she looks like she realizes there's a shenanigans afoot. But that is Coloring Heaven's Annual 2019. I did pick this up from Etsy. If you're from the US and you buy more than 3 or 4 coloring books, the shipping comes out to be free. And one of these turned out to be like $8-ish. They do sell these in Barnes & Nobles. I actually have seen this coloring book in Barnes & Nobles, but the one we have here on island, because I do live in Hawaii, it takes them like 3 or 4 months to get them. So I don't rely on that. I don't go there very often. And so if there are coloring books from Coloring Heaven that I really want, then I'll just wait, and then I'll buy 3 or 4, which I actually recently did. And then that way I can get the shipping free, but a better price than if I bought them directly from Anthem, which is their publishing house. Because if I buy it directly from them, it takes a lot longer, even though the Etsy shop does take a bit of time, but also it costs more, and I'm not going to spend any more on a coloring book that I have to. But that's this one here. I did break down and buy a Hannah Lynn coloring book, and I specifically bought this one. She did just come out with a new one, and I don't know. I like her artwork, but I don't. I definitely like Zan Von Zed and Carla Magana better. And so I think before I buy another Hannah Lynn, I'll actually probably finish the collections for those 2 artists before that. But I know that my girl Poet has, and this was actually a buddy color that we had set up. And so I did this one here. And unlike some of her other books, all of her images are exactly the same. So you get 2 images of every single girl, and there isn't one that's easier and one that's more complicated. They are exactly, literally the same image. I don't mind that, but this is not one of the coloring books that I'm going to be coloring twice. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with the second pages. But yeah, that's a problem for another time. But I love how she looks. I love how bold her hair is. I actually left the white of the page on there and then just did a little bit of background with some markers, and it was less to add color and more to make her pop out. I love her skin. She's done with Ohuhu Tombow alcohol marker, Uniball white, glitter gel pen, and some flow wood. And I think she's absolutely stunning. Now, I don't do the Hannah Lynn thing where her entire eye is that. I actually break it up because I don't like the look of it that other way. But I think she's absolutely gorgeous, and I do enjoy Hannah Lynn's artwork. But like I said, I don't know that I'm going to purchase another one from her until I get some of those artists that I actually really, really love, like Zan Van Zed and Carla Magana. But I am really happy with how she came out. And this is Steampunk Darlings, a coloring book by Hannah Lynn. I did do, in my other Zan Van Zed coloring book, I believe there's 4 or 5 out there. I have 2. This is Ladies of Leisure by Zan Van Zed, and this was the alcohol marker picture I did for Corey's E is for December. Like I've mentioned in the past, I like doing 2 pictures for that hashtag. I like to do one in colored pencil that has no more than 5 colored pencil, and I like to do an alcohol marker page that has no more than 3 alcohol markers. And she, to me, is one of my favorites. And she's actually a little harder than usual because she had absolutely no grayscale. Now, this book is actually very heavily grayscaled. So, like, this is sort of how she looked, where there wasn't even grayscale in her eyes, like up here. She was just basically line art. And I've shied away from those pictures just because it does take a little bit more effort. And yet, I think because of the simplicity of her picture, having only 3 colors really did help. And the way that I get the varying tones is, I don't know if you can see it, but some of the shadowing in her hair is done with the green. This one is done with green and then brown over top of it. And this is done with some of the pale, keeping some of the white of the page and then also some of the green. And so it can be done. It does take a little bit more effort. And some months, like this month, it really works because these 3 colors, I do have a light, a medium, and a darkish tone, and so I can combine them. And some of the other marker challenges that I've had for Corey's monthly challenge, some of the tones were very similar, so I couldn't get that much of a difference. And then I did like that there was streaking on here because it just makes it look like texture. But I really, really like this page. I'm very happy with it. It's one of my favorites that I've completed, not even just for the Zan Van Zed pictures that I've done, but just for the 3 marker challenge that I've done. And that's Ladies of Leisure. Again, I know Deb and I have a picture. I have to go back to our DMs to see which one it is, but it's definitely in one of these Zan Van Zed books. And then we also have one in that Ikuko book. But love, love, love. And I'm looking forward to finishing this and the other one that I showed you, because then that'll, I'll give myself permission to purchase the other 2. And the final picture I did was out of this. This is a newish coloring book for me. I did get this in October. This is Kaleidomorphia. This is a compilation book of several of Kirby Rosanna's other books. And I actually finished this on New Year's Eve. And so I did this picture here. And some of you might be shocked and horrified, but I did use alcohol markers. And I'm not going to lie, I actually don't even mind how that looks, but I can tell you right now, this is not a page that I would have colored, and I don't feel any sort of compulsion to have the coloring book collection that I have and then put it in my mind that I have to color every single page. And so I can absolutely sacrifice the back page of this, use alcohol markers, enjoy the process, and not even be fussed about it. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, when it comes to bugs and bees, I'm just going to black them out, and that's what I've done here, and I find it very striking. I saw Debbie of Color Me Stress Free do that with a it was like a surfing page, and it was absolutely striking. And I don't enjoy those elements on the page. The only reason the bees have retained their color is because that was the prompt that I was going for Ogla Rani. And so you've got all of the black bugs on here, although you can still see the shadow. You can definitely see the bees. I was able to pick up a Jelly Roll Glaze black pen, and it doesn't add texture, which I thought it would, but it certainly makes that like a shiny yet inky black, and I love that. I might actually have to get some more of those. On this page, there's our Sharpie, Ohuhu, Art 101, Shuttle Art Skin Tones, Tombow alcohol markers, and art glitter gel pens, Wink of Stella, and that Jelly Roll glaze in black. And this was for one of Olga Rani's prompts. Again, I need to send her the pictures, but this was another picture that I did for the prompt of bees. And then the background is done in distress ink, and I absolutely love it. And so I will be going through this book, and I'll be deciding what page am I more likely to do, and if so, do I want to do it in alcohol marker? Like this page, I'm not so drawn to. I'm not drawn to water pages in general. And so these are two pages, if I wanted to do, I could do in alcohol marker. I actually really like this page, but I have this in my Mythomorphia, I think. I know I have this image, and so if I alcohol marker the other pages, it's not that big of a deal. I've got actually quite a few coloring books in my collection that there are probably 50 to 60% of the pages I do want to complete, and then the rest will probably never even be touched. And with the amount of coloring books I have, I still feel that there's value in it for me, because I'm not going to color things just to complete it, just to say that I did it. If I'm not enjoying the process, then I'm just wasting my time. Anyway, that is the last of the pages. I'd love to know which picture you liked the best. When it comes to these completed coloring pages, I really do go through fits and spurts. So this one seemed like it was kind of long, although I've been stumbling over my words today. So I got a lot of sleep. Maybe that's what it is. But from month to month, I do want to continue to do this. I don't know how long the videos are going to be, because I don't know how many pictures I'm actually going to want to color for a month. All right, guys. Well, that's it for me for now. And as always, aloha.